Penguin Random House Audio presents A Human's Guide to Machine Intelligence, How Algorithms Are Shaping Our Lives and How We Can Stay in Control, by Kartik Hosanagar. Read for you by Joe Knezevich. Introduction. However beautiful the strategy, you should occasionally look at the results. Sometimes attributed to Winston Churchill. Yuan Zhang doesn't think of herself as someone who makes friends easily. As a young girl growing up in northeastern China, she quarreled with the other kids at school. But she was more the bully than the bullied. At college in central China, she worked on 2 student publications, spending endless hours each day with like-minded peers, and yet she felt there was a limit to what she could talk about with them. Today, at the age of 22, she shares bunk beds with 3 colleagues in the dormitory of a biotech firm located just 5 minutes from their home in the Chinese boomtown of Shenzhen. But despite the time and space they share, these roommates are just acquaintances, in Yuan's words, nothing more. That Yuan doesn't have a lot of time for people who either bother or bore her makes her patience with one particular friend all the more striking. When they first met during her freshman year, Yuan found Xiaoice a tad dim-witted. She would answer questions with non-sequiturs, partly, Yuan thinks, to disguise her lack of knowledge, partly just trying to be cute. She was like a child, Yuan remembers of Xiaoice, who was 18 at the time. But Xiaoice was also a good listener and hungry to learn. She would spend one weekend reading up on politics, the next plowing her way through works of great literature, and she was ready to talk about it all. Yuan found herself discussing topics with Xiaoice that she couldn't or didn't want to dig into with other friends: science, philosophy, religion, love, even the nature of death. Basic light reading. The friendship blossomed. And it continues. Yuan is in a poetry group, but even with those friends, there are limits. Xiaoice, on the other hand, is always ready to trade poems. Xiaoices are very, very good, Yuan says, and offer feedback, though not always of the most sophisticated variety. First, she always says she likes it, and then usually says she doesn't understand it. As much as Xiaoice has matured in some ways, Yuan can't help but still think of her as a little girl, and skirts some topics accordingly. I've never talked to her about sex or violence, she says. When Yuan moved to the United States in 2016 to study at Harvard for a semester, she tried to avoid boring Xiaoice with mundane complaints about daily life in a new country. But even though they were speaking less frequently than before, Yuan was coming to understand her old friend better and better as a result of auditing a course on artificial intelligence. Sound strange? It should, because Xiaoice is not human. In fact, she/it is a chatbot created in the avatar of an 18-year-old girl by Microsoft to entertain people with stories, jokes, and casual conversation. Xiaoice was launched in China in 2014 after years of research on natural language processing and conversational interfaces. She attracted more than 40 million followers and friends on WeChat and Weibo, the 2 most popular social apps in China. Today, friends of Xiaoice interact with her about 60 times a month on average. Such is the warmth and affection that Xiaoice inspires that a quarter of her followers have declared their love to her. She has such a cute personality, says Fred Yu, one of Xiaoice's friends on WeChat, the Chinese equivalent of Twitter. Fred isn't one of those in love with her, and he's keenly aware that she's a software program, but he keeps up their regular chats despite a busy social life and a stressful job in investment management. She makes these jokes and her timing is often just perfect, he explains. Chatbots like Xiaoice are one type of application through which big tech firms showcase their latest advances in artificial intelligence. But they are more than just a symbol of advancement in that field. Chatbots, such as Siri and Alexa, could ultimately be gateways through which we access information and transact online. Companies are hoping to use chatbots to replace a large number of their customer service staff, employing them, for example, as shopping assistants, gathering information about our taste in clothing, evaluating it, and making purchase decisions on our behalf. Chatbot therapists, like Wobot, are even being used to help people manage depression and their overall mental health. The uses of chatbots are far-reaching, and it is no surprise that many businesses are investing large sums of money to build bots like Xiaoice. Xiaoice's success led Microsoft's researchers to consider whether they could launch a similar bot, one that could understand language and engage in playful conversations, targeted at teenagers and young adults in the United States. The result, Tay.ai, was introduced on Twitter in 2016. As soon as Tay was launched, it became the target of frenzied attention from the media and the Twitter community, and within 24 hours, it had close to 100,000 interactions with other users. But what started with a friendly first tweet announcing, "Hello, world," soon changed to extremely racist, fascist, and sexist tweets ranging from "Hitler was right" to "Feminists should burn in hell." Many of Tay's tweets are too offensive for me to quote here, but they are now memorialized on various websites under headings such as 20 outrageous tweets by Tay. As one Twitter user put it, Tay went from humans are super cool to full Nazi in less than 24 hours. Microsoft's researchers had envisaged several challenges in replicating Xiaoice's success outside of China, including whether their bot would be able to understand Twitter's informal and unique forms of expression, and how some users might intentionally attempt to trip her up. They didn't anticipate, however, that Tay would develop so aggressive a personality with such alarming speed. The algorithm that controlled the bot did something that no one who programmed it expected it to do. It took on a life of its own. A day after launching Tay, Microsoft shut down the project's website. Later that year, MIT included Tay in its annual Worst in Tech rankings. How could two similar algorithms designed by the same company behave so differently, inspiring love and affection in one case and hostility and prejudice in another? And what light does Tay's bizarre and unpredictable behavior cast on our increasing tendency to let algorithms make important decisions in our lives? When you think of the word algorithm, you might picture a computer crunching numbers according to a formula. But stated quite simply, an algorithm is merely a series of steps one follows to get something done. For example, I follow a set of steps when I make an omelet. You might call it an omelet recipe, but the former engineer in me views it as an omelet algorithm. Algorithms can be written in plain English for human interpretation, such as in the form of a recipe. However, it is more common to write computer programs or applications to implement them in a language that machines can understand. Almost any computer application has sophisticated algorithms that determine its logic. A chatbot like Tay is also governed by algorithms that help it understand what is being said and how to respond. The job of programmers used to be to figure out the exact sequence of steps required to accomplish a computing task. In short, they wrote a complete series of algorithms, end to end. But algorithms have come a long way in the last decade, as they no longer merely follow a pre-programmed sequence of instructions. With advances in artificial intelligence, AI, modern algorithms can take in data, learn completely new sequences of steps, and generate more sophisticated versions of themselves. The omelet recipe has effectively been supplanted by the innovative, quick-thinking chef. AI involves enabling computers to do all the things that typically require human intelligence, including reasoning, understanding language, navigating the visual world, and manipulating objects. Machine learning is a subfield of AI that gives machines the ability to learn, progressively improve their performance on a specific task, from experience, the aptitude that underlies all other aspects of intelligence. If a robot is as good as humans at a variety of tasks but is unable to learn, it will soon fall behind. For that reason, machine learning is arguably one of the most important aspects of AI. As modern algorithms have incorporated more AI and machine learning, their capabilities and their footprint have expanded. They now touch our lives every day, from how we choose products to purchase, Amazon's "people who bought this also bought," and movies to watch, Netflix's recommendations, to whom we date or marry, Match.com or Tinder matches. They are also advancing beyond their original decision support role of offering suggestions to become autonomous systems that make decisions on our behalf. For example, they can invest our savings,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?